to another stitch tutorial. Today we are doing the crocodile stitch, but don't just think of it as scales. Think of it as feathers, as petals, as leaves. Think outside the box while you do a slip stitch. Or a slip knot would make more sense. Lisa, get with it. Ah! Okay, I am using my custom hook by Jelena over at Cutlery Designs on Etsy. She's linked down below, just underneath where the thumbs up button is and the subscribe, just in case. You never know. Anyway, slip knot. Crocodile stitch has a couple of variations. I am showing you the variation that I learned and that I'm more comfortable with. Of course, you need to find the variant that works for you. But this version is worked in multiples of 6 plus 3. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, whoops, 16, 17, 18 for my multiple of 6, and now I'm going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Now in this stitching, every chain of 3 acts as a double crochet. So for that chain, we've just done a double crochet. Now, we're going to do a double crochet into the 3rd chain. So 1, 2, and into the 3rd, just above where I've pinched with my thumb, into the bottom of that double crochet that we've just done, as it were. Do another double crochet, and now you have 2 double crochets on the end of your work. From here we are going to chain 2, and because we are chaining 2, we're going to skip 2. So when you have your work, when you skip, you have in theory when you've done your chain, you have in theory worked that one, you've worked that one, and so we're going into the 3rd. So from here we've done our chain 2, we're now going to double crochet into the 3rd. So skip 1, skip 2, into the 3rd, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2 for a double crochet. In the same space, another double crochet, and chain 2. Now this is a 2-row repeat. Once the foundation has been made, we are making the ladder, the grid, the mesh, the foundation for our first foundation of scales, or feathers, or petals, or leaves. Anyway, we've chained 2, so we're going to skip 2. 1, 2, and into the 3rd, double crochet. And again, in the same space, in the same stitch, another double crochet. And chain 2. Skip 2, 1, 2, and into the 3rd, double crochet. And another. Chain 2 and carry on to the end of your row, and I'll meet you there. Okay, now you've come to the end. You should have a chain of 3 left. As soon as you've done your group of 2, your 2 chains, you want to skip 2, 1, 2, which leaves you with 1 chain left, which is perfect because we're going in for 2 double crochets. Okay, so now we have our initial foundation. From here, this is where the movements look a little bit difficult, but bear with it. Practice makes perfect, and I promise you it should not take long at all. As soon as you've worked it out, you'll have it. So instead of doing the usual turning and then working along, we need to start with the stitches. Crocodile, feather, petal, whichever you wish. So from here we are chaining 3, which acts as our double crochet. And then we are turning our work in a different way than usual. So from here we are going to bring this towards us like so, because we are going to be working around that first post. Okay, so this acts as our first double crochet, and we need a total of 5 double crochets around that post. So we have 1, let's do another 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and that gives us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 around that first post. When you have your 5, chain 1. When you've chained 1, we're moving our work again because we need to go into this post. So turn your work so that it is now facing up, and you're going under this post. Maybe it might be easier for you to fold your work slightly so that you have a large stitch to work in, or maybe you just prefer it flat. You do it how you feel comfortable with doing it. But we're doing 5 double crochets around that post. So I'm folding and I'm doing 1, 2, 3, 4, and our last one to make the first scale, number 5. When you finish, you need to chain 1. Now let's have a look. There's our first scale. Now along the bottom here, all of these scales that will be along here, they all have a slightly bigger gap than the rest of your scales on your project. Don't be alarmed. They'll be pretty much hidden. Don't panic. Okay, so now we've chained 1. We need to skip this group. So this is the very next group of 2. We need to skip that one and go to the next. And for that, we're moving our mesh so it's facing toward us again, and going in for 5 double crochets to that post. So we're skipping that group, we're going to the next, and we're going to that first post. 5 double crochets along that first post. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Now we need to make the point of our scale, of our feather, of our petal. So we need to chain 1 and then turn that is now facing away from us because we're going into the next post. Again, I'm folding mine to make it easier. And we're doing 5 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And there we have our second scale, feather, petal, leaf, and you continue that across your work. You skip the first group, you go into the next. You skip a group, you go into the next. Always remember, as soon as you've finished your scale, chain 1 before you begin again. I will meet you at the end. So here we have our first proper row. From here, it is now the 2 row repeat. Of course, we need to make another foundation like we did before for scales to sit on, and the scales will interlope. So you'll have a scale here, a scale here, a scale here. So they're always in between. So on your last scale, you need to chain 3. So 1, 2 and 3. That is your double crochet. From here, do another double crochet, but in the gap of your scale. So in the space, in the middle. So you've got your group 2. Chain 2. Now this sounds tricky, but listen up. At the back here, you've got a group of 2 that you did not use. You need to go between those, but from the front. So if I just manipulate these, open them up, there's your group 2. You need to do 2 double crochets into that gap. Make sure you go all the way through, front to back, and do 2 double crochets. Chain 2, 2 double crochets into the space of the scale. Chain 2, and we're going back to do the group of 2 that we missed on the first row. So between the scales, make sure you go all the way through, 2 double crochets, chain 2. In the space in the middle of the scale, you know what to do. 2 double crochets and chain 2 all the way along for as long as you need for your project. Now, when we get to the end, you'll notice that we have a gap here. From here, we need to do a slip stitch. So we're going in 1 slip stitch to finish off that next row. Okay. From here, oops, I apologise, sorry. From here, this is the back, this is the front, and nothing has changed about how we do the scales. So from this slip stitch, we need to chain 3. So 1, 2, 3, and we're going straight in because we want to do a scale here, which means that we're using this group of 2 here, this coupling just here. So I've done my 3, I'm pointing the work toward me, and I'm going to do 5 double crochets into the first post of the coupling. But remember, your chain 3 acts as a double crochet. So right now I have 2, 3, 4 and 5. Let's make the point of the scale by chaining 1 and turning so that the work faces up, and we're finding the next post, and we're doing 5 double crochets around that post. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And as always, when we're finished, chain 1. So now you can see we've got a scale, a petal, a leaf in between the other 2. So just as the first row of scales, we're skipping the next group of 2 and going to the following. So turn your work so it faces you. Skip the group, first group, go to the second, identify the first post and do 5 double crochets around that post. remember to chain 1 after you've double crocheted the 5 and turn so that your work is now facing up. Identify the next post. And 5 double crochets in that second post. Folding it when you're learning, when you're practicing, helps you find those posts easier and to get round them. It doesn't mean you have to stick it all out with other projects. You do it until you feel comfortable, if you feel comfortable doing it at all. Okay, so there is our second. Now I'm going to continue on to the end and I'll meet you up there. Now when you get to the end, you've got your corner. Don't worry, it's supposed to be like that. Just like you did before, slip stitch into that corner. So if it makes it easier, turn over to the back and slip stitch into that corner. From that corner, chain 3, and once again you are making your scale foundation. So from here you're doing a double crochet into that space for a total of 2 double crochets, thanks to you chaining 3 and it acting as 1. From there you chain 2, go into the middle space of the scale, for 2 double crochets, chain 2, remember to go between the scales and find that coupling, go in between the coupling, 2 double crochets. Now there's nothing stopping you from making the crocodile stitches in 6 double crochets instead of 5. It is all down to your preference. But these make for great trim, headbands, skirts, tops, shawls, blankets. It's actually really versatile. The only hold up is your imagination. Once you've got to grips with it, you'll realise just how easy it really is. Slip stitch at the end, and then from there you chain 3 and carry on as you have. So let's get a stitch marker in, hanky marker, and there we have your crocodile stitch. Blocking is not a must as such, but very much advised for this, just to create the points on your scales and have them sit as you wish to have them. But that is the foundation for you to do your crocodiles. My name is Lisa. If it's been of any use to you whatsoever, you know what to do, and hopefully I'll see you next Tuesday. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.